Boom! Welcome back to the channel, guys. Listen, looks like we have another person who is leaving the West in search for better. Let's see how that worked out for her.
I used to work about 45 to 50 hours a week. I had a really good salary, I had a really good position, but I was burnt out. On the weekends, all I wanted to do was probably drink alcohol, smoke a blunt, and just be obliterated because I was so stressed. That whole lifestyle of mine changed. Here in Medellin, traded money for time. I've had a lot of time to invest in myself, reflect on where I want to go, where I want to be.
And that's the thing that doesn't get talked about when a person's working 50 hours a week, 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week. When you're working that hard, you have to have a relaxation plan or a relaxation routine. And most of us don't have that. And that's how you easily fall into your vices, whether that's drinking, drugs, smoking, promiscuous sex, whatever, right? That's what ends up happening. We're trying to take the edge off, but in reality, those things are just making it worse. And even if you were to try to adopt a relaxation routine, it can be expensive.
So I'm Rebecca. I have been living in Medellin for 6 years. I'm originally from New York City. My parents are Colombian. My mother is from Cartagena and my father is from Cali.
What spurred the move?
Corporate burnout.
Corporate burnout, really? What were you doing in New York?
I was working for an insurance brokerage company.
I actually worked in an insurance office one time and it was super boring.
It was boring and stressful, and you have to work with deadlines, and the money is good, but I don't know if your mental and emotional health are worth all that.
So how long did you work the corporate life?
So I was a school teacher 5 years, and then I went into corporate, and then I came back to teaching.
So that's what you do now here is teaching.
When I first got here, I was so burnt out. I actually took a year sabbatical. I just did nothing and chilled for a year. I knew a couple of people here in Medellin, and they started recommending jobs to me. I actually met somebody that was working in an insurance brokerage, and she recommended me to her agency, but cultural clashes. It's different when you come from a United States corporate environment to a Colombian corporate environment. Like the interview questions, are you married? Do you have children? And that's how I kind of made catharsis with
And that's one of the things that, listen, I may say whatever it is about America or the West, but I will say we have mastered business as far as customer service, as far as efficiency. Whenever you start to go to these different countries, you see they are lacking in business principles, And so that's also another thing that though we want to leave our American mindset at home, there are certain positive aspects that you could bring to these other countries, such as corporate culture, the non-toxic ones.
Letting go of my corporate life.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to have a boss anymore. I didn't want to get observed. So somebody recommended a learning platform called Cambly. It was perfect at the moment, and it still is, because I'm able to make my own schedule. I don't have to ask for permission. I could go online whenever I want, and I could just move around. You know what I mean? I'm not stuck. So yes, it's not the highest paying job. They pay $10 an hour. I'm trying to do something different in Colombia. I'm not trying to live the New York City lifestyle in Colombia.
So it sounds like she's doing teaching, or which they're about to mention.
Someone's looking to teach online. How would you recommend that they find a platform?
If you have your degree and you are looking into teaching, teaching is a great way to make a good living in these other countries. And that's if you're working for these platforms. If you were to study things like digital marketing, that way you can monetize your own skill. The money is potentially endless.
To teach on.
I didn't do too much searching. There are other platforms I know, there's Preply, there's italki.
I've personally hired people from Preply when it comes to my Spanish.
And there's Cambly. Those are the three that I know.
Are they kids or adults?
No, I don't teach kids. I don't have patience. So it pays more, but I'm not willing to make that sacrifice.
I see. So okay, so that's good advice. If you do want to make more, look for the platforms that teach kids. But if you want to make less, but have more sanity.
Yeah.
So you've been here for 6 years. Tell us, what are some of the great things about living here?
So the best thing about living in Medellin is that nobody asks me where I'm from. In New York or in the United States, identity politics are huge. Well, where are you from? Oh, and then what's your name? How are you doing? And I struggled with that a lot in my life. Not being able to say that I was American because, like, who do you think you are? Like, you're like denying where you come from, you're denying your roots, like, con esa cara de hispana y latina que tienes que americana. On the Colombian side, it's like, oh, I'm Colombian. And they're like, no, you're not. You eat cereal for breakfast. Like, what are you talking about? The second biggest thing I would say is time. I feel like in New York, it's all about the hustle, right? It's all about working. I used to work about 45 to 50 hours a week. I had a really good salary, I had a really good position, but I was burnt out. So, like, on the weekends, all I wanted to do was probably drink alcohol, right? Like, to like ease off the edge, or like smoke a blunt and like just be obliterated because I was so stressed. And it's ironic, right? Because like that whole lifestyle of mine changed here in Medellin, where like, you party every day, traded money for time. I've had a lot of time to invest in myself and like, reflect on like where I want to go, where I want to be.
And do you see yourself growing in Colombia and Medellin, like being here long term?
Yeah, I mean, I've been here for 6 years. I would like to have this be my primary residence. I go to New York at least twice a year to visit my family, to visit my mom.
Yeah.
Colombia is definitely where I want to be.
One of the things that people ask on the channel a lot is their budget. Would they be able to live on $1,500 a month? What would you say about that?
I think it depends on the lifestyle that you want to live and what your objectives are. So if it's important for you to eat out at like fancy restaurants, 3 or 4 times a week, if you're going to Uber everywhere, if you have to live in El Poblado or Laureles or, even some parts of Belén, then absolutely you have to come prepared for that. And Medellin right now is going through like a huge tourification, gentrification. So like prices are really definitely getting up there. It's not as cheap as it was when we first got here.
Yeah.
Before you make that move and decide that this is where you want to live, I think that you have to ask yourself some serious questions like what kind of lifestyle you want. And actually, you know what? Learning Spanish goes a long way, like learning the culture, learning the language.
Please do not go to other dominant speaking countries and not learn their language or have a plan to learn their language. My God, the amount of tourists that I see, not even tourists, people who want to live in these places long term but refuse to learn the language, absolutely arrogant.
Which it goes a long way.
Learn Spanish, figure out what kind of life.
And personally, I've been to Medellin. The last trip I've been, I did 35 days. Absolutely loved it. And I'll say this, even though I absolutely loved it, I'll give it a 7.8 out of 10. But if I would have knew Spanish, and I knew a little bit, very small, but if I would have knew Spanish, it would have been a 9.5, easy, just because I could communicate more effectively with the locals. When I would talk to the locals, even though they were patient with me, there's still that little, because I don't have the vocabulary, I don't have the range yet to really express myself. And I knew just from talking to these individuals how they were so patient with me and they were wanting to have this conversation, but I wasn't able to. And so I just understand from those experiences that if I knew Spanish fluently, or at least conversationally, my experience there would have been a 9.5 easy.
Style you're gonna have, and I've been here for 6 years. What are some of the crazy things that have happened?
Long way, like learning the culture, learning.
Figure out what kind of lifestyle you're going to have, and obviously figure out your budget out there. All right, let's get on to the next question. So you've been here for 6 years. What are some of the crazy things that have happened out here?
So the first challenge has been safety. I don't feel comfortable walking out with my cell phone out, like texting my friend, I'm walking down La Avenida.
Her coming from New York and saying that is actually wild. No, like really.
At Poblado, I'm running late. Let me text my friend. Like, I always feel like I have to be like on the lookout,
As this lady behind her has her phone out.
If I want to buy an iWatch, or if I want to buy like something really cool that like I want to wear, like I have to think about that and like think about where I'm gonna wear it.
Right. Have you ever been robbed out here?
Never. Nothing has ever been taken from me. I've never been robbed.
Why do you think that is? Because some people come here in like the first week they get robbed.
And like, look at this. She has no jewelry on. He has no jewelry on. They don't have iWatches on, or iPhone watches, Apple Watches, all that. They don't have any of that stuff on. And that's the thing about it. It's like, is that a sacrifice that you're willing to make? I'm willing to make that sacrifice. I don't need to be rocking gold jewelry or all this other stuff, or have my Apple Watch and all that. I don't need to have all that. If it takes me to sacrifice that to live in this beautiful place, I would happily do it.
I believe in luck.
Okay.
Number one. And number two, like, yo no ando dando papaya. Like, I'm not out in the street with my iPhone. I don't have, like, I'm not a very flashy person. I'm not out here to show off, you know? So I think that that definitely plays a role.
That's actually really good advice. Don't come out here to show off. Don't give papaya. It's not the safest city in the world,
No.
but as long as you take precautions, and you're lucky. I too, I've been here for 14 years. I've never been robbed on the street, never even been pickpocketed.
You know, the catcalling is annoying.
The catcalling,
Yeah.
more than just an irritation, it makes me angry when I hear that.
Yeah.
I always wondered, what if the girl like turn around and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" What they would, they'd run away. They'd be so scared.
Not in Colombia. Listen, maybe from what I've seen, I can have a limited worldview. They not gonna run away in Colombia. They gonna be like, oh, okay, come on, come talk to me.
Dating has been a challenge.
It's challenging. Why? Tell us about that.
You know, I'm from New York, right? I'm a New York City girl. I come from a matriarchy, right? Independent, and I have opinions, and men in Colombia are not used to that. Like a woman, like knowing what she wants, you know, knowing where she wants to go. I'm always around artists, you know, I'm always, you know, here or there, and like that makes people feel insecure. That dating has definitely been a challenge.
So,
And I think that's one of the major challenges that women have if they're going overseas is they're trying to keep up that feminist mindset with them as they go to these places, and it doesn't work out. However, on the men's side, a lot of guys don't realize how unmasculine they are until they're in these places. Does that make sense? So again, the women, they have to drop back into their femininity in order to be in a relationship with a man who's more in his masculine. And as a man, you have to step more into your masculinity if you're trying to be in a relationship with these feminine women.
are you single? Are you married? Are you?
We're talking.
You're talking. So hopefully it works out. Hopefully it works
I
out.
don't know.
So apart from your online teaching and anything else that you've got going on in your life, what is your primary project? What is something that illuminates you and your passion?
So I have a project called Colombian Jukebox. It is a space dedicated to culture and independent music made by Colombians. A lot of the expats in Colombia were just wondering what else they could listen to. Colombian Jukebox is a blog, talk about my experiences and all of like the cultural things that are happening in Colombia. I travel sometimes, I'm documenting some things also. If you are interested in learning more about culture and independent music made by Colombians, go ahead and follow Colombian Jukebox.
So since you're in the music world here, what are like, let's say, 3 big music festivals in all of Colombia that you should go to?
Yeah, so the first one I would recommend is Estéreo Picnic, which is held at the same time that Lollapalooza is being held in South America. So when Lollapalooza is happening in Brazil, Chile, Colombia is having Estéreo Picnic. There's a lot of the same artists. Like they share the bill with a lot of the same
Where's
artists.
that?
In Bogota. That's in Bogota.
Stereo Picnic in Bogota.
Yeah.
Make sure to check that out.
In Medellin, there's Altavoz, and that's more of an indie scene, local indie artists, maybe some international artists also. And on a cultural level, El Petronio in Cali, that happens in August every year. That is out of this world.
I've never heard of Petronio. So that's like local, like folk music?
Yes, from El Pacífico de Colombia.
Okay. I've never been to Stereo Picnic. We have to go one of these years.
And that's one of the beautiful things about going to these places and interacting with the locals is that they're going to tell you about things you would have never heard of. And now you go to that and you recognize that, oh my God, this is amazing. So listen, I will say that for those two, they blend in a lot better than, say, if you were a white guy. Even me, I think the only thing that stands out for me when I go to these places is my hair. I don't see a lot of guys who have locks, but my blackness doesn't interfere at all. I go to these places and I see a group of brothers and I'm like, oh, these are like American brothers traveling. And as I get closer to them, they're speaking fluent Spanish, and not the I've learned Spanish, like the I was born and raised here Spanish. And I was like, oh, wow. And I've been seeing so many about this. So I think it's going to be a lot easier for me and of course them to blend into these countries. But again, this is another person who realized that the hustle and bustle isn't something that you're willing to trade for quality of life. And she made made that choice and went over here. And again, notice how she was part of that music scene and she was a part of that blog. Those are signs of digital marketing. I can guarantee you, I hope so, that she's making money off of those things. And if she doesn't, it's because she hasn't studied digital marketing yet. So if you're looking to make a full-time income online, get the skills. That way, when you go to these places, you're able to sustain yourself, and not only sustain yourself, but to thrive. Go ahead and go on the course down below. Only if you know that you want to commit to this, and go ahead and grab that course. All right. And so with that, guys, let me know what you guys think. If you want more content like this, type in more content like this. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.